Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 6th of April, 2018. We have several different things, a couple of updates on Nassim Agdam, the YouTube shooter. We have a couple of updates on that. That video that we did, if you guys were not with us on, what day was that? Monday night? We went live about it. Before the identity of the shooter, was it Tuesday? Oh man, my hair's a wreck. We were out running errands. Before the identity of the shooter was revealed. Finished that whole thing, and then we find out the identity. So we went ahead and went live again. For those of you that join us live on YouTube frequently, you kind of know how many people visit with us throughout a live stream, and we reached nearly 900 people during that live stream.
Here is the takeaway. Unfortunately, it took a woman mad at YouTube's censorship to get us around YouTube's censorship algorithm.
It's not funny, but here's the thing. Nobody died, and I'm really sorry for the people that were injured, except for she did. She died. I'm sorry about the people that were shot. So if we're not politically correct about this and we don't seem whatever, but I got to tell you guys, I found it very ironic and hilarious.
CNN's all up in their ratings when things go crazy.
That we were able to beat YouTube at YouTube over YouTube.
The reason that worked was because we found out about it about 40, 50 minutes after her name was released.
Correct.
All the mainstream media had gone to bed. See, what happens is YouTube back in December,
it was like 11 o'clock at night that we went live with that second stream.
This thing called a carousel. It's brand new.
It's not as fun as you would think a carousel
and
would
basically sound. It gives you like 2 full pages of mainstream media news. If you YouTube a topic,
you'll get CNN, you'll get New York Times, you'll even get Fox News.
Yeah.
You'll get MSNBC. You won't get a YouTuber. Right. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, every result was a YouTuber. Nothing was CNN, Fox News, MSNBC.
Right.
Nothing. It's all about content creators.
So it took somebody really upset at YouTube to get us around their algorithm. And that goes to show you that without the censorship,
right,
and without that carousel, we should be averaging thousands of people every live stream.
Well, not exactly like viewers, but each video for sure. Before they started beating us at that, our views were always up. Now, it's not, we don't care about the views. I'm going to tell y'all something. I want to give a big round of applause to our moderators who were there during that. I'm glad that we got a lot of views. We gained a lot of subscribers from it. However, I love you guys. You are our Resistance Chicks family. You are consistent. You are intelligent. You are thoughtful. You voice your opinions in a human manner. It scares me to think of what our live stream would be like and our comment section would be like if we had that many people. So I actually kind of like keeping it on the down low, but we always say as the Lord leads. So do you want to give them any of the updates, or do you want me to go straight to...
Go straight to your video.
All right, so a friend of ours on Facebook had shared this video. It's actually been going around.
It's everywhere.
And so I want to share it with you guys. Let me hook up my earphones here. Let me switch over so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Do you see what I see? All right, there we go. This guy, I think it's in North Carolina, I think, goes to a, not really a town hall, a town meeting, but something like that. And he pretty much gives what for about the Second Amendment. So I want you guys to hear what he has to say, because he says it in an incredibly intelligent, concise, clear.
Right. I didn't have time to write a fancy speech. I didn't have time to, I didn't have the resource of an English teacher to sit down and write a speech with at school today, and be brought over here to practice or anything. What I really came down here for is this. I've heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group, domestic violence, blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority?
And
here's who the majority is.
Right.
I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet.
Thank you.
You want to put it at my feet. Mm-hmm. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script. It does not make any sense. The law-abiding citizens of this community and many communities around this country, we're the first ones taxed and the last ones considered and the first ones punished when things like this happens, because our rights are the ones that are being taken away. That's the reason why I came down here today. Gun show or no gun show, NRA or no NRA. I'm here to stand up for the law-abiding citizens of this community, because I'm going to tell you that what's going to happen. You can take the guns away from us all you want to. You all write a law, I follow the law, I'll bring my guns down here, I'll turn them in. But here's what's going to happen. The Crips and the Bloods on the other side of town, they're not going to turn their guns in.
Right.
They're going to hold on to them. And what's going to happen when you have to send the police down there to go take them? The police can barely enforce the law as it is. As what I see, we demonize the police, criminalize and vilify the police, and we make the criminals into victims. And we're talking about restricting guns? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that when the police department's already hamstrung? You're not going to be able to go down here and take these guns from these criminals. So the criminals are going to hold on to their guns. They're still going to have them.
Duh.
They're still going to break in my house, and they're still going to shoot me with them. And guess who's going to be the one that suffers? It's going to be me. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, it is not going to happen without a fight. And when I say fight, I don't mean shots fired. I don't mean fist thrown. I mean I'm going to come down here to this city council and raise hell just like these loonies from the left do until you listen to the majority of the people in this city. And I am the majority. The majority of the people in this city are law-abiding.
The majority.
And they follow the law. And they want their constitutional right to be able to bear arms. They want to be able to go to the gun show and buy a hunting rifle or a sport rifle. There are no military-grade weapons sold at the gun show. An AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. Anybody who would go into combat with an AR-15 is a fool. It's a semi-automatic 22 rifle. You'd be killed in 15 minutes in combat with that thing. So we need to dispel all these myths, and we need to drop all this division that we got going on here. Because the bottom line is, when that Second Amendment was written, whether the framers liked it or not, they wrote it for everybody. And I am everybody. And the law-abiding citizens of this city are everybody. And we want our rights, and we want to keep our rights. And by God, we're going to keep them, come hell or high water.
Well said. Thank you very much for that, my friend.
So this particular man, he is a North Carolina resident, Mark Robertson. And he did such a good job on his speech that they had him on Fox News.
It was Fox and Friends that shared that particular video.
It's in our stomping grounds.
And of course, we're going to have a Cabela's ad here.
I like what Stacy says here. Here's the kicker. The left can't touch him. He's black. If that was a white man, they would call him racist, white privileged, right-wing threat. We need liberty-loving folks of color to speak out.
And there are, and they get called Uncle Tom. There was a guy on Tucker Carlson. They get called all kinds of names, and it's just absolutely weird. Black people vote 70% Democrat just because. And it's time for more people like this man to speak out. Let's see here.
And we want to keep our rights, and by God, we're going to keep them, come hell or high water.
Joining us now from North Carolina's own Mark Robinson isn't even a gun owner, just a staunch defender of the American Constitution, and joined us now with the story behind his impromptu speech. There was no teleprompter there, but that came from the heart, Mark. What prompted you to go up there?
Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for having me on, and I'd also like to say thank you for everybody out there. The response to this has been so overwhelming. people have called me on the phone, just random citizens from across the nation have called me, telling me that they were inspired by what I said. That's exactly what I wanted to do, and I thank God that it touched so many people, and I really thank people for the positive response. What really drew me to go to the meeting is the fact that I do social media, I do Facebook, and I talk about the Second Amendment and protecting the Second Amendment. I do that a lot online, but I don't find a lot of time and don't make a lot of time to actually go in person and attend meetings and really get politically active. Well, when the Greensboro City Council first talked about trying to ban or cancel the gun show, it made me very angry. And then when they announced this meeting and I found out about the meeting the day of the meeting, I knew I had to attend, even though it was somewhat inconvenient because the meeting took place at 5:30 and I didn't get off work until 4:45. But I went, didn't intend to speak originally, but after hearing some of the comments, I could not hold back. I had to let the council know how I felt, and what I told them is exactly what I thought. I do not intend to sit idly by while politicians make rules that take away my rights as a law-abiding citizen. Now, if I commit a crime, I expect my rights to be withheld. But until that time, I expect to have all the rights that are due to me under the Constitution and under the government of my city and state.
The day that we aired it, I think it was 2 days ago, our audience went wild. We got so many emails because many of them are gun owners and agreed with you and support the Second Amendment. That same day, California, some of these cities we were reporting on, breaking away from that state and suing the state because they don't want to be a sanctuary state. What's happening in our country? Is it just that you're one of the ones that's spoken out? Are you pushed in a corner and you're just saying enough is enough? I got to speak out.
That's absolutely what's happening. What's happening is you have fringes on both sides that are screaming, and the silent middle is just being overlooked. We're overtaxed, we're underrepresented, we're disregarded. A lot of times our words are ignored. That needs to cease. Good people need to start standing up. We need to start going down to our city councils, our town halls. I know there used to be an old saying, they used to say, write your congressman. I'm not going to write my congressman. I'm going to find my congressman, and I'm going to confront him face to face, and I'm going to tell him, you're not going to run over me anymore. You're not going to put me last. You're going to put me first, because the law-abiding citizens of this country and the states of this country, we're the ones that make the wheels turn. And we need to have our voices heard, and I hope that
I hope that man runs for office.
Law-abiding citizens come first.
Remember that name, Mark Robinson? Please run for office.
Law-abiding citizens.
And that's it. He started out his speech by saying, I'm always hearing about everybody wanting to represent the minority, but why aren't we talking about representing the majority?
And it's for people like him to stop things like this. A town in Illinois has given citizens 60 days to turn in their guns or face $1,000 a day fine.
This is absolutely
an hour ago, and it was unanimous. The village opting for a ban on specific types of firearms, and essentially what that means is a complete ban on semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns containing certain features and magazines.
This is a ban on all guns except for revolvers and a pump-action shotgun
containing more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Law enforcement and retired law enforcement are exempt by the adjustments to local law. The debate before the vote at times heated and passionate.
Matt has a 22 can plinker. It might kill a rabbit. Maybe. It holds more than 10. That is an assault rifle.
Right.
Now.
It's ridiculous.
It may kill a squirrel.
There's going to be lots of talk about Second Amendment rights, but I'd be hard-pressed to find any right that is completely unrestricted.
We have police. Yeah, they had them in Florida, too. Imagine how those teachers and those kids felt as they look out that window at that cop hiding behind that tree. I bet they wish they had a gun versus a phone in their hands.
And the law is very similar to the one that is currently in place in Highland Park. The ban goes into effect in about an hour.
In 60 days.
You know, Millie Weaver did a report on the YouTube shooter, and I was watching her report, and she said something to me that I've not heard anybody else talk about, and as a comparison. She said, you know what? Parents have rights over their children, right? This is a really good thing. I think that all parents should have parental rights over their children until they are 18 years of age. It's a right that you have just by being a parent. There are parents that abuse that right. They take advantage of it. They abuse their children. That does not mean that we take away every parent's right because of the few parents that abuse their parental rights that that are God-given. Okay.
Do we say enough is enough? Just take all the kids away from their parents?
And that is exactly, and it's the level of insanity of people that would say, yes, take away all of the guns is the exact same level of insanity, and not just level of insanity, but level of subversion, level of governmental control, level of just wanting to give away all of our rights to the powers that be. It's the exact same level. They would want the state to have. There are people out there that literally say this. Well, actually, you're right. I think that the state should have rule over parents and over parental rights. It's complete insanity.
Well, you mentioned parental rights. This is a Muslim woman, Hannity Muhib, charged with the murder after beheading her 7-year-old son in Sweden, New York State. A 36-year-old mother named Hanan Muhib was charged with murder after decapitating her 7-year-old son Thursday evening with a knife. Police arrived on scene after family members called 911. A pair of frantic 911 calls about a suicidal woman armed with a knife sent 3 deputies racing towards the town of Sweden home in western New York Thursday night. Before they arrived, another caller urged them to hurry because someone had been injured. When deputies arrived moments later, they were confronted by 36-year-old Hanan Muhib, brandishing a large kitchen knife and refusing to drop it. So now we have to get rid of all kitchen knives.
Absolutely. No more chefs, no more cooking.
No more America's Test Kitchen, no more Iron Chef, nothing. They had to pepper spray her and taser her to disarm her of the knife and prevent her from harming other occupants in the house. Once she was in custody, the deputies made a grisly discovery. They found the decapitated body of a young boy, later identified as 7-year-old Abraham E. Cardenas, and in the adjacent room. The sheriff says there's no explanation for this, only evil. However, I have an article here. Let me find my...
It says she pled not guilty.
Yeah, so I'm going to find this article here because it wasn't Daily Caller. It was Robert Spencer that tweeted out that she is a Muslim. She's a nurse practitioner.
A nurse practitioner?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so 0 indicators of anything religious, 0 indicators of anything cultural, said the sheriff. Of course, as always, but what about this? When you meet the unbelievers, strike their necks, Quran 47:4. Authorities persist in their assumption that Muslims in the U.S. don't believe that.
Wait a minute. Authorities persist that all Muslims in the United States don't believe that?
Right.
Because authorities know what every Muslim thinks? Do they know what every Christian thinks, what every Buddhist thinks?
And some Muslims, such as a nurse practitioner, Hanab Muhib, keep proving them wrong. Why did it occur to her, in whatever rage she was feeling towards her son, to behead him? The religious and cultural factors kick in at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the thing. In Arabic cultures where Islam is practiced, the religion that shall not be named, beheading is a thing. In Saudi Arabia, the death penalty is to bring you in front of a bunch of people and chop your head off with a sword. That's their thing. That's how they do their death penalty. They chop hands off. I've actually seen videos where kids are saying, we need the law that says if you catch a thief, you cut their hand off because it keeps people from becoming thieves. So this is a thing. So if it's in your mind to be a thing, then it's a thing.
Wow. That's really, really sad. Oh my gosh. A nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what kind of job you have, what kind of life you lead, what kind of lifestyle you have. Insanity is insanity, and it will take over. And it doesn't matter what kind of weapon you choose. You are going to find a way to commit the harm because of this craziness, one way or the other.
This goes in this next story because Sadiq Khan keeps saying that, terrorism is part and parcel of life, yada, yada, yada. However, there has been a string of knife attacks and killings in London. The youngest victim of London's crime wave, aged just 13, is in critical but stable condition after being knifed in a park plagued by rival gangs of youth as police arrest 5 over stabbings. The stabbing youngest victim, age 13, is in critical condition. Police made 5 arrests after 6 teenagers were stabbed within 90 minutes. The other night, in a knife carnage across London. On Thursday night, a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old were taken to a hospital with serious stab wounds. Bloody clothes on the ground near the scene of Grove Road, Mile End, East London, following reports of the stabbing.
You'll be aware that over the last 3 months, and in particular in the last...
Hey, come back, lady.
Several days, we've had a unusual spike in horrible homicides. Ghastly events that have taken people's lives and devastated other people's lives.
They have had
it's
some
important
shootings
that we investigate those to the best of our ability and that we bring people to justice. I anticipate that we will. We're very good at that. We work really closely with the City of London Police. We frequently help them with serious crime, whether that's kidnap, knife crime or homicide. Occasionally they help us. I think the public would expect us to be putting every effort into not just preventing knife crime homicide, but investigating these homicides properly. And I'm really grateful for the help from the City of London Police on this occasion.
And homicides?
No, this is not an unprecedented time, but it is a very worrying time, absolutely. What I would say is we clearly, as a city, have a big problem now. It's only affecting a small proportion of the city, but it is a horrible problem, and it has devastated lives in the last few months. So looking forward, we all need to work together, and from our part, we need to up our efforts, and that's exactly what we're doing. So over this weekend, as an example, we will have 300 more officers each day exclusively working against knife crime, exclusively in those parts of London that have been most affected recently, what we call the hotspots. Actually grateful for the work that the police are doing to bring people to justice, and if I just pause on that, we almost always do. In the 5 cases in the last week that will be on your mind, we've arrested in all but 1. I anticipate that we will have further arrests and indeed charges. So they're grateful for that. It is some small comfort how seriously we take this and that we do bring people to justice. Many of them say, please do more stop and search. Of the ones I have met, the vast majority are very supportive of the police and of police activity.
She says the majority of them. Is she talking about Muslims? Migrants?
I don't know, because, the way she said that these are happening in just certain areas, hot spots. She's not allowed to describe what goes on in these hot spots, what areas of London stand these things are taking place in. Now, Nigel did a show 2 or 3 nights ago on this. Everybody seems to be, like, this is kind of... They've known that the crime existed, but now even the mainstream is awakened to, okay, you know what? This is a problem. There are a lot of people that are calling out Sadiq Khan. Most people are. Yeah. But in that radio program that I was listening to, some people are not calling out Sadiq Khan.
Gun and knife attacks are at their highest level since 2010.
It's worse than New York right now. They have surpassed New York City.
Have been murdered in the capital since January with 13 people. Why aren't they giving race statistics?
They can't. That's racist.
Yesterday, Tottenham Labour MP David Lammy described the London street violence as the worst I've ever seen it. He told the BBC's Today program the violence was being driven by turf wars between drug gangs. Which kind of drug gangs? Which kind? Are they British born? Are they migrants? Are they refugees?
Good question.
He warned that the police had lost control of the drug market, adding, I've been an MP now for 18 years, and I'm afraid that what we're seeing today is the worst I have ever seen it. Shocking video filmed by a witness in Mile End last night shows the aftermath of a stabbing which seriously injured 2 teenage boys. Paramedics can be seen treating one party who lay beneath a foil blanket as police officers appeared to restrain another person. A spokesman for the force said one male was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder and the second taken into custody of suspicion of GBH.
Stuart the Brit says not allowed to give race stats in this country.
Witness Jake Hawk, 33, who lives further down the street, said he heard yelling and went out to his window where he saw 3 boys, one on a bicycle with their faces covered. Another, Jack Hobbs, 30, walked past what appeared to be the same group on Grove Road and said they were all wearing dark clothes and hoodies and sort of fastened up at the top of their heads, so were completely covered. So the question is who is behind this? What is behind it?
It was really interesting. One of the callers into Nigel's show, he was 22, and he said that he used to be in these gangs. So Nigel asked him, if there had been a stop and search law in place at that time, and you had known that if you had been caught with a knife that something serious would have happened, would it have caused you to not carry one? And he didn't really exactly answer that question, but his point that he kept trying to make to Nigel that he was saying that Nigel wasn't getting was, he said no when he had been caught many times with a knife and they never did anything.
Oh, wow.
But he said you can have a knife on you and then the police are coming and you can throw it away and it could be literally lying next to you. But if you don't have it on your person, then they can't charge you, with it. But this stop and search thing, especially the way that Nigel was describing it, was being able to stop people based on their race. And they don't have that now. You're just not allowed to do it. And to me, it drives me insane because it only makes sense. Okay.
Right.
Unfortunately, when it comes to, let's say, several people are committing crimes and they're, all dressed up as some sort of something. Right. Then you say, look out for people that are dressed in, blue hoodies. Right. Or whatever. Right. When there's a mass murderer on the loose and he's got blonde curly hair, well, guess what? Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of people with blonde curly hair that are going to get stopped. And I'm sorry, you just so happen to look like the person committing these crimes. Unfortunately, right. If you drive an SUV that is the same color and make and model as an SUV that committed a crime, your SUV is going to get stopped. And I'm sorry that that's an inconvenience to you. Okay. But if you look like the people that are committing these crimes, you're going to get stopped. That's all there is to it.
Right. Okay. So, Trump made a
terrible deal.
He threw away his speech remarks, and he started to talk about the caravan of migrants and
which happens. Can you explain that to these people really quickly before you?
Yeah. So, all right. For best 10 years, there's been volunteers, quote unquote volunteers, who have
Mexicans
helped,
go marching.
No, actually not Mexicans.
I'm sorry,
from Honduras.
South Americans.
No, Central Americans. South.
What do you mean Central Americans? Why can't I say they're South of America? Why can't I say South Americans?
Whatever. A lot of people from Honduras. And they're coming up, and they've been coming up for years and years and years. And the border in Mexico just let them through, and the BuzzFeed had a person embedded. Well, I don't know why BuzzFeed would do this, but they were like tweeting it out like it was a good thing. Like, we're coming, we're coming, we're coming, we're coming. And Trump's like, no, you're not coming. And so he's going to deploy the National Guard to the Texas border. And Jeff Sessions says there's going to be zero tolerance. And you have everyone on the left saying, this is so racist. These are women. These are children. And I get that. Why is it that South America is so awful? South and Central America. I'm just saying South America. Why is it so awful that everybody wants to come to America. I'm going to just tell you this. They don't have a Declaration of Independence.
Right.
They don't have a constitution. And their countries were not founded by men of God who sought God. When we turn away from those things, our country will fall as well. We have enough people who are righteous enough to keep our country on top and to keep it going. But when and if there aren't those righteous people, there aren't those people who are putting all their trust in the God and realizing the awesomeness of the founding of this country, we can go down to just as easily. There's no difference between Americans and South Americans. The difference is in the founding of our country, the bedrock. Most of South America is run by like drug lords and cartels and communism. Communism took a hold of several South American countries and wreaked havoc in it, as it will. Because what happens in communism, what it does is communism is about people who say, I don't want to work.
Right.
There's a bunch of rich people. Let's go take their stuff. Right. But once all that stuff is consumed, they have nothing.
Right.
So then they have to conscript one another to work for them, and communism ends up being slavery instead of, whatever.
Well, what was interesting to me about this, and you may get to this in a minute, but what I wanted you to tell them was that they do this every year. They sneak people in, they do their little march, but it's become so politicized now and so big, they have too many people, and literally the leaders or whoever
they tweet it out. I'm sorry, there's too many people. We can't
get them in.
We
can't sneak them all in. So I guess a lot of them are just going to have to go home.
Well, the Mexico deported 400, dispersed the rest, and then there's this train called the Beast, I guess, where Donald Trump said this thing. He talked about rapists and how women are definitely taken advantage of on these caravans,
right?
And by migrant smugglers. Some 70% of women are molested or raped on these caravans, trying to get into this country. It's awful what these people do and prey on poor people.
There was a really interesting. I'm going to try and drop this into the description, but I watched it. A debate between former Mexican president, I think you say his name, Vicente.
What is that? That looks fun. How long was it?
It was pretty long. It was like a half hour. Vicente Fox, and they were kind of debating nationalism. And it was a really, really enjoyable debate. They had a moderator and everything. So I'm going to drop that link in the description, and I want you guys to go and watch that because it was really fascinating.
I'd like to see some pieces of
that. For the United States. We're renegotiating the deal right now. But it'll still be good for Mexico and for Canada. And when this caravan came in, and this is a caravan of a lot of people coming in this case from Honduras, if it reaches our border, our laws are so weak and so pathetic, you would not understand this, because I know how strong your laws are at the border. It's like we have no border, because we had Obama make changes, President Obama made changes that basically created no border. It's called catch and release. You catch them, you register them, they go into our country. We can't throw them out. And in many cases, they shouldn't be here. Many, many cases, they shouldn't be here. And after they get whatever happens over the next 2 or 3 years, they're supposed to come back to court. Almost nobody comes back to court. They're in our country. And we can't do anything about it because the laws that were created by Democrats are so pathetic and so weak. So
imagine if we tried to go to another country and we're just like, we're just going to stay here for however long we want to. Like, it's so weird.
Mexico, and I respect what they did. I said, look, your laws are very powerful. Your laws are very strong. We have very bad laws for our border. And we are going to be doing some things. I've been speaking with General Mattis. We're going to be doing things militarily. Until we can have a wall and proper security, we're going to be guarding our border with the military.
That's perfectly acceptable.
We really haven't done that before, or certainly not very much before. But we will be doing things with Mexico, and they have to do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the NAFTA deal. NAFTA's been fantastic for Mexico, bad for us. We've had our car plants move to Mexico, many of them. We make tremendous numbers, millions of cars in Mexico that years ago didn't exist. They closed in Michigan, they closed in Ohio, they closed in other places. Now they're starting to move back because of what we've done with regulation and with taxes. They're starting to come back into our country in a big way. But I told Mexico very strongly, you're going to have to do something about these caravans that are coming up. And I just noticed that the caravan now, which is toward the middle of Mexico, coming up from Honduras, is breaking up very rapidly. That's because Mexico has very strong immigration laws, as we should have. We should have those laws. We don't have. We have immigration laws that are laughed at by everybody. And it's got to be changed. We need the wall, we need the protection, and we have to change our immigration laws at the border and elsewhere. So Mexico has, at this moment, it seems they've broken up large numbers of that particular caravan.
These are from Gary, by the way, and we promised to wear them from Diamond and Silk.
But we're prepared at our border. We cannot have people flowing into our country illegally, disappearing, and by the way, never showing up to court. So the court case will be set for 2 years or 3 years, if you can believe this. And they never show up. For the most part, very rarely do they show up. Plus, if you notice, they're trying to hire thousands of judges. So every person that walks across, and they're taught to say the right thing, they walk across, and then they go, and they're supposed to go to court. So we're supposed to have thousands of judges because we cannot have them taken out. We have to bring them before a ridiculous court system. We have to change our policies fast, just like we have to change on sanctuary cities. If you look at what's happening in California, they're having revolts out there because there are a lot of areas,
there are cities in California who are like, we aren't going to be
sanctuary cities, which are guarding criminals.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are changing, but I have just heard that the caravan coming up from Honduras is broken up, and Mexico did that. And they did it because, frankly, I said, you really have to do it. We're going to have a relationship on NAFTA. We're going to have to include security in NAFTA. So Mexico, very strong laws, and that's the way it is. So it looks like it's been broken up. So that'll be good. Okay, thank you all very much. And Scott Lewis, thanks.
Okay, covered that. He did.
Yeah.
You know, it is interesting that it said that they were broken up. However, the last we heard, and I'm sure it probably has broken up since then, but they were still kind of camped out. Like, what do we do now?
Yeah, and they're still headed this way. Now, again, Trump made some more remarks. I'm going to play this one for you. And people are pretty upset about it because they said, like this lefty guy says, Trump reprises Mexicans are racist comments. Remember my, I'll just play it for you. Let me see.
Very tough. Very, very tough. And Canada is very merit-based. You come into Canada, it's got to be based on merit. With us, it's a lottery system. Pick them out, a lottery system. You can imagine what those countries put into the system. They're not putting their good ones. And remember my opening remarks at Trump Tower when I opened. Everybody said, oh, he was so tough. And I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out where this journey coming up, women are raped at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They don't want to mention that.
They don't want to mention that.
That's absolutely huge. And I have to tell you, it infuriates me when I see the mainstream media only giving one narrative. They skip over things like that. And when Trump actually hits on it, like he talks about how bad it is in Chicago with these gun advocates or anti-Second Amendment people don't want to talk about the violence in Chicago. Right. Trump will talk about it. He'll talk about the rapes, but the mainstream media won't touch it.
So it's only a thing when the left wants it to be a thing. But if we capitalize on something and look at that and say, wow, maybe this isn't right. So in 2014, Huffington Post, super left wing, posts an article that says 80% of Central American women, girls, are raped crossing into the United States.
80%.
80%. And that is their own article from the Huffington Post. Their own article. That's just huge. So Trump is right.
Okay. So you have the leftists that would say we want all of these people to come up, but they don't care that when the women try to come up,
right.
80% of them are getting raped along the way. And who is doing the raping? That is the question that I want to ask.
Other migrants coming into
people
this
that
country.
they're traveling with?
Yeah, and the guys leading them. So from Latina.com in 2009 says, from beheadings to kidnappings, there seems to be no limit in what the Mexican drug cartels are willing to do to assert their dominance, and they deal not only in drugs but also in humans. The majority of the coyotes who help undocumented immigrants cross the border are affiliated with the cartels. Although many politicians would like to believe that the violence will stay to the south of the border, the reality is that it has already begun to affect southwestern states. The revelation that Phoenix is now the kidnapping capital of the United States only affirms what many residents already believe. Now, a new method of marking territory has crossed the United States called rape trees are popping up in southern Arizona, and their significance is horrific. These rape trees are places where cartel members and coyotes rape female border crossers and hang their clothes, specifically undergarments, to mark their conquest. Rape trees are frequently seen in Brooks County, Texas, U.S. News reports. Just before sundown, a group of men cloaked in camouflage from the Texas Border Volunteers halts their all-terrain vehicle along a winding sandy road as they make their way through a heavy brush. They circle around a pile of women's undergarments, which lay at the foot of a tree in sections of land near the U.S.-Mexican border. This is known as a rape tree. And for the residents of Brooks County, Texas, rape trees are popping up at an alarming frequency. I've had 3 rape cases in the last month, says Benny Martinez, chief deputy of the Brooks County Sheriff's Department. These guys are animals. There is an intimidation factor there. If they don't give into the brush guide, the women get beat up. The group also found the rape tree are part of the Texas Border Volunteers, a group of a few dozen private citizens who spend their own time 6 or 7 hours at a clip, weaving through the low-hanging honey mesquite trees and heavy Texas brush, looking to stop immigrants from crossing into this land illegally. Migrants. So, yeah, Trump, National Guard, border. Very interesting.
I'm down.
Very interesting. I'm gonna see how many people he wanted to bring down there.
Let's see. A lot of people are putting, oh my gosh, that's awful. Gary says, and they are giving the children to pedophiles. Very true. Food Forest Permaculture says prayers for the less fortunate and abused. Amen.
Our first guest backs the...
So, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick expressed his support for deploying the National Guard troops to secure the Mexican border, saying he hopes President Trump keeps the extra defense there until hell freezes over. Okay.
President's border plan. Dan Patrick is the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Thank you very much for talking to us. So there is no timetable, as we all know, for the wall. So with that being said, how long do you foresee thousands of National Guard troops stationed at the Mexican border?
As long as it takes, Julie. We've had the Guard there before, and the latest was when Rick Perry, right before Governor Abbott and I took office 4 years ago, Rick Perry sent the Guard down there. It has significant impact, and we are in total support of what the president is doing. You know, as I listen to the description of some of the things they would be doing, one of the things you have to understand that frees up law enforcement and border patrol to have more people on the border. When the National Guard is doing a lot of the other work behind the scenes, that helps put more law enforcement on the border. Secondly, they will be in surveillance on the border, and their very presence, the very fact that people on the other side trying to cross into our country illegally, will send a strong message, as it has before, and the president is doing the right thing, and we're all in. And as I said last night on Fox, I hope they'll stay there until hell freezes over, until that wall is built. We need the wall.
Yeah,
dude,
and the wall, obviously.
The governor and the lieutenant governor want a wall on their border. What does that tell you?
Would stop a lot of the crime that we see on the border. But you obviously support the decision. What then would you say to critics who argue that illegal border crossings are actually down and they see this as an unnecessary waste of resources?
Well, they're wrong, and they've been wrong. We in Texas spent $800 million in our last 2 budgets because we had to put money up where the federal government under Obama did not act. So we had to act. And we know that with more troopers. We've put close to 500 troopers down there, either permanently or rotating, to help Border Patrol. Think of it as a football game. The Border Patrol is your defensive line, and our local law enforcement are the linebackers and the cornerbacks, because we take care of them if they get past Border Patrol. But we need more federal help. We shouldn't have to spend $800 million of Texas taxpayer dollars. It should be the federal government, and that's why we appreciate what the president's doing. Keep this in mind,
true.
Julie, that every Democrat and liberal that you have talking about this issue on the air.
Here's the thing. Our government is supposed to be small, and our federal government and taxes are supposed to be small. We spend way too much on healthcare and the endowment for the arts and all kinds of crazy things, right?
Yeah.
The government is set up to protect the people and to protect your goods and protect your borders.
First and foremost.
First and foremost. So if there's anything that taxes would be spent on, it's defense of your border.
Right.
If your border isn't defended, there should be nobody getting across the United States border. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Chris Holman said, here's the thing. If you designate the people trying to cross over the border as invaders, then the National Guard can actually engage them.
Exactly. All right. So, Jeff Sessions says he notified all federal prosecutors along that part of the border of the new policy in a memo Friday and directed them to make prosecuting criminal immigration offenses a priority. He also directed prosecutors to work with the Department of Homeland Security to develop guidelines for prosecuting offenses under immigration law. The Department of Justice said the new policy is in response to the report of the Department of Homeland Security, which showed 203% increase in illegal border crossings from March 2017 to March 2018. That's actually a rise in Trump. Here's the thing. First 3 months Trump was inaugurated, right? Border crossings went down.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, Trump, the wall. They're going to, and then they realized, hey, no big deal, free for all, DACA, let's just go.
Yeah, but once he actually enacted, he freed the hands of the ICE agents.
Yeah, he says
it went down.
Yeah, but now it's back up again.
Right.
The situation of our southwest border is unacceptable. Sessions said in a statement, Congress has failed to pass effective legislation that serves the national interest, that closes dangerous loopholes and fully funds a wall along our southern border. And I'm gonna insert something here, talking about Congress. So Trey Gowdy is resigning as well. And he says his past 7 years, he feels like it was a waste. He didn't get anything done.
Wow.
And he feels like the Republican Party is all about just trying to get more Republicans in, but not actually doing anything. So when you have people like Mitch McConnell and John McCain and Paul Ryan in power, they are trying to get Republicans elected, but they're trying to get their Republicans elected. And what I mean by that is establishment, deep state people who will toe the line and actually do everything that the deep state wants. There is only one main big party, okay?
Which is why Roy Moore didn't win the seat, because he wasn't their Republican.
Right. Here's the thing. Whether people want to believe it or not, the reason that we kind of side with Republicans is because the deep state Republicans are run by the Democrats. It's all Democrat, and whatever you want to call them, these lefty, liberal, communist people who want to take away your rights. They want to take your First Amendment right. They want to take your Second Amendment right. They want to just control people to make themselves richer and wealthier. And so, yeah, when the Republican Party is pushing Republicans and trying to get elections, they put out talking points like, hey, let's repeal Obamacare.
Right.
They are lying through their teeth. They're lying snakes.
Yeah, they don't want to repeal Obamacare. They don't want to defund Planned Parenthood. They don't want to do anything.
They don't want to build a wall. They don't want to do anything on immigration.
But they definitely want you to vote for them as if they're going to do those things.
So when they go to Washington, it's not about their paycheck that they receive. They get so many kickbacks and so many perks. And at the end of the day, they make millions of dollars. How is it that Maxine Waters is a millionaire on $100 and some odd $1,000 a year job? Okay, she just says, "Oh, I have investments." Yeah, right. You're a liar. All these people are millionaires. When you look
because their pockets are being lined by those that have the agenda,
special interests, and things like that.
And that's how they got into the position that they are there, because they knew the people that put them in those positions knew that they would be able to use them as a puppet.
Right. Exactly. So I'm going to move on to this next huge crazy thing happening right now. And I'm going to try to break it down for you the best that I can. Trump is in a trade war with China, and we brought this to you. Now, China has retaliated and wants to hit the heartland of America the hardest. They have like $100 billion in retaliation of tariffs. The one thing that everybody is shocked about that they are putting a tariff on is a 25% tariff on soybeans. They get about 34% of their soybeans from the United States. The rest, I believe, comes from Brazil and another South American country. I don't think Spain. So they're only like 3 or 4 huge exporters of these soybeans. Now, as farmers, I put that in quotes because little small time farmers, we understand that everything runs on corn and soy. Within the past, I would say, 60 years, we've gone from a traditional real food to what we do now. If you go to the supermarket, everything in a box is some sort of repackaged, rehomogenized conglomeration of soy, corn, and sugar, and everything on the shelf, and wheat. Soy, corn, sugar, and wheat. Okay, they literally whether it's your cereal, whether it's in your pasta aisle, it's all just everything.
Here's
in your
what's
frozen
so cool
food,
about this, guys. I mean, it is like some sort of science fiction movie. Now, if you're a musician, you know that a plethora of songs can be written and sung by like C, G, and D. You can write 1 million songs with those 3 chords. Right. And they can sound completely different. Right. They take these 3 ingredients and they can make anything. It's so freaky. It's like Star Trek where you have the replicator and they just have specific nutrients or whatever that they're able to put in, and then it just comes out as something completely different. But guess what? It's all the same ingredients, and that's why Americans are so unhealthy.
Exactly, especially men with the soy. The sperm count is down. The sperm count is down for 2 reasons: the soy, which is an estrogen mimicker, and the glyphosate, which literally turns frogs gay.
It's a killer, and so it's going to kill things inside of you.
Right, and that too. But also, it literally changes the matrix in your brain, so you're less manly, and it's not awesome. So, anyways, China needs this soy because they have huge. They have a lot of people, and they need to feed a lot of people, and they have a lot of hog lots. Mm-hmm. Okay, so hog feed is basically made up of soy and corn. And in a delicate balance, because soy is your protein. Right. So a lot of these health foods that say high protein, that's just soy. Just plain soy. I just need to look at the back of things. Please, if you say, oh, protein diet, protein, right. It's usually just soy.
It used to be, when I was a kid, everybody talked about how great soy is and eat tofu. And I'm like,
but middle America
does just a push. Propaganda.
The middle American farmers, they do make their living off of soy. Okay? And so to put a 25% tariff, so I got a little itch, on that is going to devastate our farmers. Yep. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's also going to devastate China, because China needs that soy because they need to keep their people hungry. So they need to keep their hungry people fed. So this is an escalation of epic proportions. Now, here are China's 5 nuclear options for a nuclear trade war. After Trump ordered the USTR to consider an additional $100 billion in tariffs, something Zero Hedge said on Wednesday would happen if the market was dumb enough to allow Trump to think he had a trade war victory by closing green. Now, this is their. I don't believe that I think Trump has a trade war victory. Okay, there are 2 sides to look at this, but there are some interesting things in this article. China has suddenly found itself in a quandary, as they showed first thing in the morning. If Beijing were to continue responding to the U.S. in a tit for tat, it would be unable to retaliate to the latest Trump salvo of a total of $150 billion in tariffs, for the simple reason that the U.S. does not export $150 billion in products to China. Do you understand? Right. So, of course, America has the upper hand because we bring in way more things than we send to China, which doesn't mean that China is out of options. So here are a few things that they could do. A currency depreciation, a sharp one-time yuan devaluation like the one Beijing expectedly carried out unexpectedly carried out in 2015, could be used to offset some of the effect of the tariffs. Sales of U.S. treasuries. Chinese authorities could sell some of its large official sector holdings. They own a large part of U.S. treasuries. Block U.S. services. Chinese authorities could limit access for the U.S. companies to the Chinese domestic market, particularly in the services sector, where the U.S. exports $56 billion in services annually and runs a $38 billion surplus, and curb U.S. oil shipments. Another person also pointed out that there are these precious gem metals that names I don't even know what they are. Okay, but China has them. And I guess our country needs them. So they could literally say, no, we're not even going to send them. And that would be an act of war.
Was that in this article?
No, it's not in this article. And sorry, I couldn't find it again. And so you don't need, I don't think you're going to be able to find it. So that would be, here it is. I found it. All right.
I was just wondering if it's like palladium or something.
No, much of the story centers around Megan Twinch, rare earth. It's called rare earths. Following the rare earths. I guess the elements are dysprosium, neodymium, gadolinium, and ytterbium. That's why I didn't remember what they were.
Ytterbium.
They aren't actually rare, but they do play critical roles in everything from smartphones to electric car motors, hard drives and wind turbines, military radars, smart bombs, laser guidance, and more. They're also quite difficult to mine and process. And so they have a near monopoly on these rare earths is what they're calling them.
Which is probably why Chinese electronics are cheaper and better than American electronics.
So I guess there's this company called Magnequench, the American company that emerged out of General Motors in the 80s. It specialized in the magnets that account for most of the final components created from rare earth metals. But in 1995, Magnequench was bought out by a consortium that included two Chinese firms that took a controlling 62% majority of the company. They also bought a big rare earth magnet plant in Indiana. Eventually, Magnequench's manufacturing capacities were moved to China, and the Indiana plant was shut down. Executive branch regulators do wield power over foreign investment in and buyouts of American companies, particularly through the Committee of Foreign Investment. So the CFIUS approved the initial takeover under the Clinton administration, as well as the later shutdown of the Indiana plant. So under Trump, that's not going to happen. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to look at this, but let me just give you a random example, a story that came out today. So China has about 26 sperm banks, but for a country as large as theirs, that's not a lot. They don't really want people to do in vitro fertilization. But their one sperm bank is offering $900 to only those men who are physically sound and mentally sound and who hold to socialist and communist party principles.
Because that gets passed
through. Because that gets passed through onto the next generation. These are people who control people. The only way that China even appears to be normal in this world is because we do business with China. And this is part of the U.S., our problems. We should never have opened up our lives and our hearts. What we had hoped is what we heard since we were kids. The more we open up to China,
yes,
the more that democracy will spread.
Right.
But that hasn't happened. However, the gospel is spreading more in China than anywhere in the world. But people they're still being imprisoned for it. Churches are being shut down. They're trying to smush it and bring it down. China right now, I think we brought this to you before. They're giving everybody a number based on their political affiliation,
a status number, essentially,
based on their job, based on
all of these different
tickets.
Things come into play, and they give you a rating.
And if your rating is low, then you can't take the bus, you can't take public transit, you definitely can't leave the country. And so this country is communist. They sterilize people. They force people to have abortions. They force you to not. You can't think that you want to think when you're in school. They give you tests and they tell you what you're going to be when you grow up. And if your family is in the government, then you're better off. Right. But if your family isn't in the government, you're going to have a hard time making it in this world. And so I do not have a soft spot for China. China has become a superpower. It is the biggest, largest superpower in the world today. It is our largest potential enemy.
True.
Not Russia. China. China is our China is in our movies. China is in our real estate. China is in everything.
So here are a couple of things that I think of through all of this. A lot of people have come and said, you know what, this is going to be, in the long run, really bad for our economy. And I get that. I've watched the videos. I have done the research. I understand how this bold move by Trump could backfire and could be really bad for our economy. But like to hit at, I guess I should say, what Leah was just talking about, we shouldn't even be dealing with China. When it comes to trying to lift somebody up, you know, there's always that thing. Okay, you stand on a chair and then the person stands below and they pull and you pull. You're never going to pull that person up to your chair. They are just going to pull you down. Now, it's different when you're kind of like ministering to, leading, guiding, teaching somebody. But we always say this in our daily lives. When you open up your heart to deal with somebody that is not on the same level as you, they are going to pull you down 100% of the time. And that's what we're seeing with China, and they're kind of turning one over on us, and they do have a one-up on a lot of these products and things that we are now completely dependent upon. And so it's not a money issue.
We shouldn't be dependent upon China. Bottom line,
it doesn't matter how much money it costs. It doesn't matter how... The bottom line of everything is not money, guys. When it comes to the United States economy, when it comes to the border wall, when it comes to trading with China, and I say this to my friends, my very closest friends, and so since you guys are like that to me, I'm going to give you a bit of Michelle advice. When it comes to doing the right thing and obeying God and listening to what God wants you to do, if you are allowing money to influence your decision, you will be led astray every single time. And so what Trump is doing is he's standing up kind of like the man of the house. I don't care how much money it costs. This is how things are going to be. This is the way it's going to happen. And if it costs America a little bit of money for us to do the right thing, to not be dealing and allowing these people to have the upper hand on us, then that is what we're going to do. Gosh darn it.
What did people think when he ran on Make America Great Again? We just read about a company that left Indiana, left jobs, left a hole in that town.
Exactly.
And moved to China. That is one of thousands of stories where jobs here in America, it's more important for us to spend a few extra dollars
for us to have American-made products.
Exactly.
To have American industry.
Buy American. But here's the thing. Buy American. Prices are going to go up. But see,
I would love to see every single daggum Walmart in the entire country shut down.
Tell them about the Kerrygold butter.
So a friend of ours, we try to eat very healthy, and a lot of our friends do the same thing. And so we will put forth a little bit more money to buy products that we know are better, whether it's grass-fed, you know what I mean, if we can't do it ourselves. Butter is one thing that we do not make ourselves because it would cost too much for us to make it the way that we need to. So you can go to the store and you can buy grass-fed butter. You can buy butter that's quality, and the Kerrygold butter
is supposed to be the best.
However, when you buy it at Walmart,
it has canola oil.
It has canola oil in it. Now, butter, real butter, is not supposed to have canola oil in it. That makes it margarine. Okay, and margarine ain't butter. It's plastic that you are consuming, essentially. Now, it's not just the butter. It is with every single product almost that you buy at Walmart. You think that you've researched, all right, this is the product I'm going to buy. Hey, look, Walmart sells it for cheaper than I can get it at the grocery store down the street. I'm going to get it there. You're not getting the same product because they make deals with these companies to make the products for a lesser quality. So a lot of products that are sold at Walmart come from China. Yeah, don't buy a laptop, don't buy a cell phone, don't buy anything like that at Walmart because you will be getting a lesser quality product. So it would be heaven on earth to me, and we shop at Walmart occasionally if we have to for something. I would love it if all Walmarts shut down, because Owen Schroyer was saying on the War Room the other day when
the reason we do pop into Walmart every once in a while is because Walmart put out of business other places
where we can't get things.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. He was talking about this exact topic, and he said, listen, I don't get it. I don't get why people are so upset about Trump doing this. And they're saying, you know what, we won't be able to get these things from China anymore. Who cares?
China's slave labor.
Let's have
this reminds me
American products.
This reminds me
in
of
America.
Of the South, right?
Yeah.
Because China they're slave owners, and they see their people as slaves. And you can only and the slaves are allowed to do a certain amount of slave things under slave labor, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of choose your job, but it's slavery. And so what this is most people would rather have their cheap goods under slave labor than
and these are the leftists that are supposed to be touting for, you know, equal rights and all that. They don't care about equal rights. They don't care that these are coming from sweatshops in China, because somehow they think, you know what, well, at least we're helping them have a little job.
Here's the thing.
Are you serious?
Here's the thing. They don't care about slavery. They are the party of slavery.
Yep.
They only
shifted.
Your Republicans defeated slavery. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was, well, because we can't bring that kind of slavery back,
right?
We're going to capitalize on it. Pretend that we're against it, and then we're going to do this whole sleight of hand magic thing, and just put our slavery over there in the Asian countries.
I don't want Chinese products. I don't care. I don't care. I would much rather all trade back and forth be shut off right now, instantaneously. Just boom, like that. Not to be resumed again until they meet the, human rights standards that we have.
The idea of trading between countries is that your country is supposed to do something well, and you should be able to trade what you do well with the country, with somebody else.
Yeah,
what they do well. Now
it was so somebody had asked in the comment section about the butter, but it's still Kerry butter. Yes, it's still manufactured under the exact same label with every single product. I'm telling you, a computer, you can look up the number, right? The actual model of a computer and get it at Walmart, and it is a lesser product.
All right, so Trump says, China, which is a great economic power, is considered a developing nation under the World Trade Organization. They therefore get tremendous perks and advantages, especially over the U.S. Does anyone think this is fair? We were badly represented. The WTO is unfair to the U.S. We send, just in our latest omnibus bill, we send millions and millions of dollars to China. The latest one was to yak herders in China. Why are we sending millions of dollars to yak herders in China?
Right.
This absolutely makes no sense.
So hang on, because I want to address a comment here that's a valid comment from Susan here. She says, won't we have massive price increases if the Chinese products are gone? Yep. Yes. Yes, we will. Until it has a chance to equal out, because what you'll see, and it takes some time, and Trump's willing to put in the time, and I'm hoping he gets his 8 years to do it. The products have to be made here in America first, which then increases jobs, which increases the economy.
But I'm going to tell you something else.
So it takes a minute.
Here's the thing. Things made in China are cheaply made.
Yeah.
There's no love in them. There's no backing in them. There's no guarantee. There's no warranty. Things made in the United States usually last longer.
Have you guys noticed, and this is by design, you buy a refrigerator, you buy a washing machine, you buy a stove. Okay, those are standard things that have been in existence for at least the past 70 years. Have you noticed that now when you buy them, you have to buy a new one every 6 or 7 years? It used to not be that way.
To last forever.
Okay, they are doing it on purpose, but they are making these cheaper products. So what we're trying to say, Susan, is it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the prices will go up, but here's another thing, another element that you need to consider is that if the products are being made here, there's more money going into the economy, but also the way that Trump is wanting to do things, like, okay, you just spoke about this pork bill, right? This extra spending we're giving to yak herders, ridiculous stuff. Think about it for just 1 minute. If they were to, the money is there. It's our money. we're giving it to the government. The money is there. If they were to pull back all of this pork spending, we could afford to buy quality products. The reason why we can't buy quality products, multiple reasons. Federal Reserve is actually trumps this in many levels. But one of the reasons why we can't afford to buy quality products is because we are overtaxed in every single area.
I'm going to give you another example here. We used to help out with elderly people, and we learned a lot from them. It wasn't just helping elderly. We took care of our grandma, and a lot of her friends needed help. And one elderly man was an executive for U.S. Shoe, based here in Cincinnati. And he would tell us all kinds of stories. His name was Jerry. And Jerry was from New York. And he told us that at U.S. Shoe, he was in charge, actually, of the glue department. Mm-hmm. And if a shoe... Adhesive. Sorry. If a shoe came apart at all... from the sole.
And they did testing, massive testing on these shoes.
That was the biggest no-no. And I would tell him, I said, I get Reeboks or Fila's or Nikes or New Balance, and within a month or two, it's coming off. The sole's coming off.
And he said every single pair of shoes. We would never have produced a shoe like that. We produced a quality shoe, and we tested it to make sure that it was going to last.
Right, exactly. Whether it was a gym shoe or nice Italian leather shoes, they were based here in the United States, and they made things that were quality. So let's say you buy a shoe that's made in China, and it's, $60, $70, and it wears out.
Right.
You buy one in the United States, it should probably still be about the same price. And it should last you longer.
Right.
That's the whole point. Things last you longer. But here's the thing. China's Yanhua News, the unofficial mouthpiece of the party, is not happy about any of this.
Susan says, I totally agree with you. I am old enough to remember when things were really well made.
Thank you, Susan. Has sparked some more concerns. Remember, Craftsman used to be able to go in and Craftsman meant something. Well, now it's made over in China. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Things fall apart. They break.
And that's why Sears is going out of business, because they can't afford their, replace a tool policy.
Exactly. And he says he's calling for open rebellion against Donald Trump. This is a Chinese guy. He says U.S. President Donald Trump's latest threat to impose tariffs on an additional $100 billion in imports from China was quickly rebuked by China's Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a more resolute way. The two ministries said China will listen and observe what Washington will do next, while showing contempt to the unreasonable U.S. They said China will fight to the end at any cost.
Okay.
Which is an unusual response. We Chinese do disdain that Washington.
You're not doing a Chinese accent.
Which is in no position to initiate a trade war with China. Persists in wielding the tariff baton. We are fully able to inflict the same losses on the U.S. as those on China. And the U.S. have to repay whatever losses and harm it had caused on China with huge economic and political cost. The White House latest proposal will hit Chinese exports to the U.S., and in response, China will make a sweeping counterattack at U.S. exports to China. China can retaliate at a wide range of areas, including U.S. goods, exports to China, service exports, and U.S. highly profitable investment in China.
They're saying it sounds like a Chinese-German accent.
It takes both strength and willpower to engage in a large-scale Chinese-U.S. war. While the two countries are about evenly matched in trade power, the future is on China's side, but I don't believe so. The trade war will cause pain for China, but in the meantime, it can force China to speed up its economic transformation. What the U.S. is losing in this process is its future. I doubt that. I don't think so. China won't back off, and the Chinese society will unite around the party. Here's the thing. What is this thing? This is exactly what they're saying. China will not back down. We will unite around communism. Our communist party, we will give them more power. We will fight together as communists. Dude, you're communists. The future is not in communism. Whoever wrote the stupid article is stupid. It's giving me some good points, so I'm bringing it up. But the future is not China. Okay, but here's the thing. Steve Bannon and Donald Trump realized... how many times did Donald Trump say China? China, 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 China. When you realize that China is literally using slave labor to get to the top, it has to crumble and fall.
Right.
But they don't have what our founding fathers have, is a solid foundation in the gospel of Jesus Christ that all men are created equal and have individual rights based in natural law. And this natural law, it was birthed, the idea of it was birthed in England, okay, by like Sir Edward Coke and William Blackstone, and we talk about this all the time. John Locke, where they got in the gospel, they got in the Word of God. When the Word of God was put into English, they realized, wow, every single person is unique and special and has rights that we can see in nature. You have a right to your own land. Yep. You have a right for it not to be taxed, by the way, your land. Nobody can kick you off your land ever, period. There are laws of nature, and nature's God. Our Declaration of Independence talks about them. Thomas Jefferson gets them from John Locke. Everyone should know this. We did not learn this in school. You have to learn this outside of school. So here's the thing. They don't have this. They don't have the gospel of Jesus Christ. Everybody is just a slave to them. Everybody's a number with no inherent human value. And I'm not saying that all Chinese people believe this. I'm
but
saying
their
that the people
government
at top
does.
and
Absolutely.
the Communist Party, you have to believe it. They brainwashed kids into this particular mindset.
So Liberty Bell here says, I hope Americans understand by not promoting communism by buying Chinese products, we will be promoting U.S. commodities again. Church, neighborhood businesses, etc.
Right.
Love thy neighbor will return.
You should be able to go to right down the street to a hardware store. You should be able to go right down the street to a tailor. You should be able to, I mean, all of our clothes is made in the Philippines. It shouldn't be. We should at least have some sort of semblance of people who can
have a
produce
craft.
goods. Yeah.
Craftsmen.
So anyways, we can move on from this. I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on and where we stand on this, but I do want to play for you a clip from Sarah Sanders.
We haven't played her in a while.
Who says her response to the tariff question here.
It's in our stomping grounds.
So much with the Cabela ads, like
But
every
let's turn it
single
down a
every
little bit.
single thing. Cabela.
It's better than some ads.
You know what? It could be a lot worse. You are absolutely right. Here we go. Sarah.
To do.
Let's go back.
In trade, and that's what he's trying to do.
Does the president think that trade wars are easy to win? Is that still his view?
I think the president feels like if he is in charge of those negotiations, absolutely. He's the best negotiator at the table, and we certainly have full confidence in his ability to help move things forward. I think if you look simply at the Chorus deal, in which the president was able to get a much better deal for the United States, we've made great progress on NAFTA, and we're hoping to have great progress on the trade negotiations with China.
So here's the thing. I'm looking at Kim Jong-il, I always get it mixed up, in North Korea.
Kim Jong-un.
Did you see how Donald Trump handled that situation and how we're no longer on the brink of nuclear war with North Korea?
Amazing.
Trump is one of the best negotiators on the face of this planet, and he knows what he's doing. So in this particular respect, I say Trump knows what he's doing. You can shut the door if you want. We got some cold air coming in. Random news. I just wanted to bring this to you guys. Sometimes we hear about the millennials doing all kinds of stupid things, like putting condoms through their nose. I don't show you a picture of that. I didn't want to talk about it. It's a thing on the internet.
Oh my gosh. No, you said you don't want to talk about it.
I don't.
Hang on, but have y'all heard about this? It's no longer eating the Tide Pods. Okay? Which any sound-minded Homo sapien should realize that that's not something that we should do. However, they're now doing a snort a condom.
Can we just not? Okay.
Thing.
Okay.
This is the youth. This is what's wrong with the public school system.
Wait, but we have some good kids. Principals at schools across the country already have exhibited various levels of support for students who have walked out of the class to protest guns. The protest culminated recently in an anti-Second Amendment rally in Washington, attended by tens of thousands. Soon, the school officials will be notified of another walkout demonstration. This one is to object the pornographic curriculum used by many schools in anti-bullying programs that many parents don't even know about. It's being organized online at the Sex Ed Sit Out, and it's already gone international.
Wow.
Through the campaign, parents can send a letter informing their local principal that their child will not attend school on April 23rd. This date has been set aside by parents and concerned citizens in America, Canada, and Australia to stand against the sexualization of our children. Pornographic sex ed is being implemented across our globe in an attempt to indoctrinate our children with sexual rights. This is unacceptable, and IM are joining others nationally and globally in taking a stand to say enough. Our children are our most precious gift and deserve to be protected against the evils of big corporations and radical activists who desire to instill a disturbing sexual ideology in the name of comprehensive sexuality education. The letter says parents are oftentimes not being informed by the school of the controversial, graphic, and gender-bending sex education programs in our schools. Administrators are hiding behind frequent name changes of sex education program, welcoming schools, safe schools. We talked about the safe schools in Australia, totally perverted. I mean, just nasty stuff. Reducing risk, making proud choices. The deceptive denials in order to get the funding that comes attached to these dangerous programs. We don't believe our children's innocence should be expendable for school funding. We believe there should be transparency with parents at all times concerning what is being taught. The campaign's website explains the movement began with a few mothers on social media who were outraged over the graphic nature of sexual content. Parents are demanding to know why their children are being taught how to have anal and oral, blah, 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 and all these insane things that I can't even read out loud, but your children are being taught. Carl Ayala, a former public school teacher and organizer of the event in Austin, Texas, said, "We are uniting with parents across the globe to demand that our rights as parents are respected. Hands off our kids." So this is one of those things where I'm actually excited about. I think I'm happy that people are standing up. So here's join us in your city, April 23rd. So
this is fantastic. So if you guys are watching Resistance Chicks, you should be homeschooling. If you're not, this might be something that you and your children want to look into participating in on April 23rd. I want to give you guys a little bit of a story, my own personal story that I've talked about on the show before, but in case you didn't hear it, when I was in the 6th grade, that's when they rolled out sex education in our public school system. I think it's younger than that now. And my mom did not want me to participate in sex ed. So she sent me to school with a note saying Michelle is not allowed to participate in sex ed. And so I had to sit out in the hallway. I think this course went on for, I don't know, like it was like a solid 2 weeks or something like that. It was I mean, pretty short. It wasn't like a semester or even a quarter or anything like that. It was just, like a 2 week kind of here, sit down, learn about sex kind of thing.
6th grade.
So 6th grade. I mean, what are you, like 12 in 6th grade? So I'm out in the hallway for the first one.
11 or 12. And
I, as a child, felt stupid and felt silly. And everybody was like, haha, it's so, whatever. I can't believe you have to sit out in the hallway. And I was actually a pretty strong Christian as a kid, witnessing and things like that. But I still felt the peer pressure that I came to my teacher for the next time and I said, I'll call her out, Mrs. Sizemore. I don't know if she's still married or not, so I can use that name. I said, Mrs. Sizemore, I won't tell my mom. I'll sit in the class. I won't tell her. It'll be fine. And she said, okay. And so I was in sex ed for that whole entire time. Never told my mom. Like, I don't know, a few years later I probably did. But seriously, if that could have happened in 19 whatever, now for sure it's happening. These kids are coming to their teachers and it doesn't matter. Teachers undermining parents at every single turn. Okay, so you can't complain about anything that happens to your child at public school if you're sending them there. You can't. Your child is your responsibility from the time they are born until they are 18 years old, and whatever happens to them.
I love how they call it health class, where it really has nothing to do with health. It's all about sex, right? Like health is like, there's so much to health. You know what I mean? Like healthy eating, healthy living, healthy grooming, getting active. Things like that. It's all just to brainwash kids into...
Well, you took sex ed in, 9th grade?
A health class included... health class was all about sex in 8th grade and 9th grade.
Because you had some pretty uncomfortable questions asked. I just remember the curriculum, and it goes back a ways, so it's a little bit fuzzy. But I do remember pictures that were drawn of actual interaction. and you were thumbing through that, and you're seeing this, and it was very uncomfortable, and there's lots of snickering and things like that going on, and 12-year-olds should not be looking at pornography, drawn or otherwise.
Right, it's porn.
I mean, seriously,
it's porn.
This is completely inappropriate.
It's porn. Yeah, definitely. No, it was in 8th grade, and I figured out it had to be for one of those like statistics. These are one of the things when it's very it's wrong actually to take these statistics from kids and to know, so many kids are doing this and so many kids are doing this. I think it's wrong. They make you take these. You don't have a choice. And they just make you. They use public schools as a way to just control children. But in 8th grade, they made you stand in each corner to where
how far you had gone.
Nowhere, holding hands, kissing, feeling up the shirt, feeling below the shirt, full on sex. Mm-hmm. And you had to literally, every person had to go and stand underneath their thing. I'm like, who does that? Whose idea is that?
Completely embarrassing.
Completely stupid.
Inappropriate. And it's going to be skewed.
8th grade, by the way.
I mean, seriously.
That was, and my health teacher in 8th grade was also my reading teacher, which is really weird. All right.
So yeah, pull your kids now.
All right. Speaking of perversion, I think that actually is a great,
and they won't let.
Is having a protest tomorrow in Washington, D.C.
Who's having a protest?
Tracy Beans.
Okay.
Tracy Beans' name is in the.
Okay. All right. Tracy Beans is having a protest in. Did she say New York?
Okay.
Tomorrow.
So, here's the thing. This is another. Speaking of perversion, Sean Hannity has been tweeting out to Jimmy Kimmel pretty much all day.
I'm hoping this isn't a flop, though. I hope he really has something.
And he has been calling all day. I don't know how to get to the bottom of this. I think I might be there. All right, so we're going to start with this one. So Jimmy Kimmel at Disney, I guess Disney runs his channel. Are you proud to employ Harvey Weinstein Jr.? Are you proud of this? This is ABC's Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm not going to play for you these videos. I have seen them.
Because we have a family-friendly show.
Way too many times, but he had this show called The Man Show.
It was awful.
And it was a way to, it's on a TV show and it's a skit, so we can literally make girls do anything we want. Like, how far can we go, right? So in this one, he puts like a banana or something in his pants, and he asks women to grab his crotch and put their mouth on it to guess what it is. But Jimmy Kimmel spends pretty much all day, every day telling Trump that he's a pervert.
Right.
Okay. Jimmy Kimmel is probably one of the most perverted people on the face of the planet. So
most of us don't watch Jimmy Kimmel and would have no idea that this existed.
Right.
If it weren't for the fact that it's being brought to light now.
So much to choose from. True Disney classics from Harvey Weinstein Jr. Let's take a poll tonight. Will Jimmy Kimmel be 1, asking 18-year-olds to grab his crotch, 2, attacking women reading books to children, 3, be a racist, all of the above. So, let's see. There's another one here. So much to choose from regarding Harvey Weinstein Jr. Trump is not going to the White House press conference, by the way.
Again.
Let's see. Prediction. Mr. Tough Guy, Jimmy Kimmel, Harvey Weinstein Jr., who picks on women helping kids and is a pervert with young women, will likely not be responding any time to. His 100 writers are likely sleeping. Let's see. He goes on. You are a bully. Let's see. Attacking the First Lady of the U.S. Attack me anytime you want. And so he attacked Melania Trump, by the way. Stop picking on a woman who can't fight back. And maybe pledge not to ask 18-year-old girls to touch your crotch and put their mouths on it like you did. Why don't you be a grown-up and simply apologize? Because he tweeted out, thank goodness we have a kind, tolerant men like you to protect this nation from bullies. Late Night Loser. Hannity unloads on Harvey Weinstein Jr. Somebody made an article about it. Let's see. You kissed the rear of Obama and Hillary for years, Mr. Weinstein. Answer this question. Would you want a stranger asking your daughter to grab their crotch and put their mouths on it? Yes or no, Harvey?
He has no relation to Harvey Weinstein. Hannity is putting a correlation here.
Because Jimmy Kimmel tweeted out, when your clown makeup rubs off on Trump's rear, does it make his butt look like a creamsicle? That was Jimmy Kimmel's response to Sean Hannity.
He's so mature.
Yes, exactly. He also says, all new at Disney, asking women to grab a stranger's crotch and put their mouths on it. Harvey Weinstein wannabe. He says, the answer is yes. Every woman involved willingly participated. It's called a comedy bit. It's what you've been unwittingly doing for years. Now you answer this question. Would you want your daughter being grabbed by the blank? Yes or no? Here's the thing. We're calling out hypocrisy, and Donald Trump, this is what, I hate to defend this, but Donald Trump laughed and said, these girls, these women, throw themselves on you. They will even let you go up and grab them by the blank. Jimmy Kimmel literally goes up and asks people to grab his blank. Okay? There's more.
This is a really great Resistance Chick show today.
I know. I'm sorry. So it goes on and on. He's going to have something going on tonight. He says TikTok. There's another one that I hadn't seen that Sean tweeted out today, where he literally, I'm just going to tell you the title of it. Does size matter? And he went up with some sort of fake male anatomy and started touching women with it.
Are you serious?
I am not kidding with you. He would ask them, does size matter? And then he just wang and just touch people with it. And they would giggle and laugh and be like, ooh. And then when one woman was like running away, he'd follow her and try to chase him down with his fake thing. Who knew it was fake? I don't know.
Wow.
So my point is that Jimmy Kimmel is the mouthpiece for the left on late night television. This is the left.
We'll get to that.
Perversion and craziness. So I can bring her up.
It says Twitter. It's on Twitter.
Tracy Bean. So, anyways,
it'll be very interesting to see what Hannity actually comes up with tonight.
So, join us in D.C. April 7th. Tracy Bean's Operation Justice March for Transparency. We the People. So this is happening. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
We the People. Tracy Beans. So I don't really know much about this.
I don't know anything about it. So Patriot Gallery just brought this out.
Mom, you want to tell us about it? Because I don't.
She has a number of followers, and she does a lot of Q posts.
Okay. You want to
So she's popular in the Q. She's
popular in the Q
area.
Okay.
So, and she translates a lot of Q codes and everything, and so she's popular with the alternative right.
So, but what is this march going to? I mean, they're going to.
It's just for justice, for the Department of Justice. It's against the Department of Justice and how they keep lying and they're corrupt. It's to stand against the corruption of the Department of Justice. You know, they cheated for Hillary. They lied for Hillary. They did all this spying. They become a KGB unit of the United States with the CIA.
Join us in D.C. for an organized display of peaceful protest and demonstration to show our discontent with the justice system and corruption. Together, we the people can make a difference to guide our future. So,
cool.
All right.
So that'll be something to watch. Very interesting.
Yep. Check that out. Definitely. All right. So,
we're busy in the morning. I don't know when this is taking place. But if something comes up, we may go live about it. We'll see. We'll see what happens as a result. So that's really cool. Anytime that people on the truther side are making a move, then I think that's really good. I haven't heard back from him yet. So Bill Burnett had sent me back on the American-made products an email. He said, I've got a Sunbeam electric frying pan that still works like the day I bought it in 1961. Also, I have a set of Teflon aluminum silverware bought in 1972, and none of the Teflon has scratched off. Bring manufacturing back to the U.S., and I'll gladly pay more for quality.
I want to bring you kind of an update on the Russian, because it's kind of a big deal. Russia demolishes UK poisoning hoax during emergency Security Council meeting. The more I read, the more I am actually convinced that this guy was working for, this is, okay, let me just kind of sum things up. I read an article. What makes sense here? It does not make sense for Vladimir Putin to go and poison an ex-spy who they let out of prison for being an ex-spy in 2010, right before the World Cup and right before his election.
Right.
With something, only known to Russian agent. It also doesn't make sense because Porton Down cannot say that it's Russian. They say it's a Russian-like substance.
Right.
So none of this is making any sense. There's two plausible theories, and one makes more sense than the other one. One is that the UK intelligence did this, and another is that this guy, this ex-Russian spy, was working for UK intelligence, got his hands on a substance,
right,
and it accidentally got out of control, and he spilled it or something and poisoned himself and his daughter. That makes the most sense. And then the UK, in order to cover it up,
right,
spun a Russian hysteria thing to make it not look like, oh my gosh, we have this substance. It's in the hand of this guy, our own spy.
Yeah. It's kind of become a huge deal in the UK right now. Discussion again. Nigel, I had time. I was working on bookkeeping, so I listened to 2 of Nigel's shows, which I don't ever get a chance to do. Plus, I listened to that interview. So he was talking about it, and Boris Johnson had come out and said what he said about Portendown, saying, you know what. We can't say that it literally was an exact Russian agent, and everybody's losing their mind. It is a fact that it is not identifiable as 100%.
It's the fact that it's not a fact.
Thank you. Well, but it's not. It literally is not identifiable as 100% that it came. It just
Why is that up?
Came from some sort of Russian,
it's freaking me out,
something or other, but like Russian type. It's like a generic. It could be a generic, and the idea that, Russia would go ahead and do this.
Let me play a little bit of this.
World powers have just last
is
hour
ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense for them to leave a
convened
signature.
by Russia on the Skripal poisoning case. The Russian ambassador addressed the chamber for over half an hour, slamming the UK's claims of Kremlin involvement in last month's attack on the former double agent and his daughter.
Let's speak cynically. Why did Russia wait 8 years and decide to act 2 weeks before the election and a few months before the World Cup? Why was he even released from the country in the first place? Why eliminate him in that strange and dangerous manner?
The meeting was convened by the Russian Federation, and when the UN Security Council had gathered, the meeting opened with remarks by the Russian ambassador in which he essentially said that Moscow is demanding answers. He pointed out that allegations were leveled against Russia just hours after the attack had taken place, and that those allegations are hard to believe, as neither Boris Johnson or Theresa May are chemical experts. He went on to point out that Portendown Laboratory, which actually tested the chemical substance, did not say what the origin of the chemicals was. It had no way of determining that. Now, we then heard from the Russian representative, and the ambassador of the Russian Federation said that the allegations were absurd.
Boris Johnson mentioned Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, saying that the novel's main intrigue was whether the culprit would confess before he gets caught. The novel, by the way, is not about that at all. It's not a detective story. It's serious philosophical literature. I would advise Boris Johnson to read other works of Dostoevsky, or at least learn the titles. British intelligence has immediately rushed to Boris Johnson's rescue, just like Chippendale. It's a theatre of the absurd.
Now, Russia has offered a joint investigation into the incident. However, it seems pretty clear that the United Kingdom does not want that. These are the remarks that we heard from the...
So, I wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on, what's going there. What do you have up?
All right, people. Chris Holman's not going to let it go. If you guys aren't subscribed to Chris's channel, please go and do so now. He's got a lot of really good content. I enjoy watching it myself. So he said he did a video on marriage. Great. I have not seen that yet. However, zombie raccoons. The idea that they would go ahead and call it zombie. Now, the like part here that you see, that's not what most people are going with. They're going with zombie raccoons, which is hilarious to me. Standing on their own hind legs are terrorizing a town in Ohio. Not our town, north of us. Here, this is Time, like Time magazine time. This is national news. What is happening here? Zombie-like raccoons have taken over a town in Ohio. This isn't the inevitable reboot of The Night of the Living Dead, though, or another Walking Dead spinoff. Instead, it's an eerie invasion that has authorities looking for answers. Police in Youngstown, Ohio have responded to over a dozen calls from concerned humans who have spotted, like, who else are they going to be getting calls from? Seriously? Other than humans. The raccoons? Behaving very strangely, according to local news outlet WKBN. The raccoons were seen popping up onto their hind legs, baring their teeth, and then falling over into a comatose state. The animals weren't easy to scare off either, and seemed to have lost their natural fear of humans. If that wasn't odd enough, the majority of the sightings and calls happened in the daytime, even though raccoons are nocturnal. Police received calls about 14 raccoons over the past 3 weeks, with some of the residents making the zombie comparison. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources said it doesn't sound like rabies, but rather a disease called distemper. If this diagnosis is correct, distemper is not transmissible to humans, but can be spread to dogs who come in contact with zombie raccoons. According to the American Veterinary Medical Association, distemper attacks the respiratory, gastrointestinal, and nervous systems of infected animals, and symptoms include head tilt, muscle twitches, and seizures, and partial or complete paralysis. Unfortunately, the affected raccoons have to be captured and put down to prevent the disease from spreading further. It's worth noting distemper symptoms do not include a hunger for human brains. So there you have the so the way that Chris had said it, and I've heard this a couple of other times as well from other people on YouTube that are covering this. I can't believe how much coverage this is getting. Is that what's happening is they are literally just it's a disease that's attacking the brain that is interrupting the raccoon's normal fear of humans. I don't know what's causing them to be prowling about during the daytime. It's just funny. It's hilarious. Our dogs get a distemper vaccine. I don't know if yours do or not, but I just found it really hilarious that these mainstream media outlets would be willing to play on the zombie thing, because there are a lot of people that actually believe in zombies, or that zombies are possible. So yeah, my heart goes out to the people that might read this and actually think, oh my gosh, zombies. So do we have a song?
Not tonight. I didn't have any.
We do not have a song. Now, I heard back from Nick, Blue Guy, the student at Parkland. We were going to have him on tonight. I haven't heard back from him. So here's what I think I want to do. We will sign off from this show, and I will wait, and I'll shoot him an email. And that way, if we did want to do maybe just an individual segment with Nick, we could come back in a little while. We'll leave all this set up and just do a segment with Nick, which might be helpful. We actually didn't cover any of the updates that we told them that we would on the YouTube shooter. And they're not that big of a deal. She lived roughly 400 and some odd miles, I think north of San Bruno. And her dad had actually called the police because she was missing. My daughter is missing. But here's the interesting part about that. When he talked to the police about her being missing, what else did he tell them, Leah?
She's angry at YouTube, and he was afraid that she might go
to the headquarters.
Yeah.
She was found 400 and some odd miles south of her home the night before, sleeping in her car. And the police talked to her dad and said, everything's fine. It's all under control. So before we sign off here, I want to get into a little bit of a rant. And the rant is this. We do not have a gun problem. How many times have we heard, if you see something, say something, tell the authorities so that we can stop this? What is a consistent thing that we keep seeing over and over and over again throughout all of these things? The fact that the authorities knew and they did nothing. They did nothing.
So you're going to punish innocent civilians because the police...
what I want to know, did the police question her? Do you have any angry thoughts about YouTube? Are you planning a shooting?
Right.
She had a gun.
Right.
Did she go and, I want to know, did she go and buy the gun after the police found her sleeping in her car and her father had told the police that she's angry at YouTube and might go there and try to do something? Did they search her car?
Right.
I mean, seriously, come on. All of these things like Parkland could have been stopped if they had said, hey, let's pull in this Nicholas Cruz kid and ask him some questions. What are these threats that we're hearing that you want to go in and shoot up a school? Do you really feel like you want to shoot up the school?
He would have said yes.
We could have stopped that. We could have saved 17 lives in Florida.
Right.
All right. Her brother also had contacted the police about her having these issues. Okay. Woo-hoo. All right. Again, we didn't exactly get to say this at the beginning of the show, but I did want to tell you guys, for those of you that missed it, Leah and I are really excited about the coverage that we did on Nassim Aghdam, the YouTube shooter, because we were able to get all of her social media stuff that we could play within the hour that we went live, and played it and showed it. And while we were going live, they were scrubbing. They were pulling down her Instagram. They were pulling down her Facebook page, but we got to it before they had a chance to take it down.
Yeah.
That episode that we did with you guys was really exciting. That was one of the first times that I think that we were able to get the scoop firsthand before so many people and had it scrubbed. Unfortunately, I'm sad that we didn't get to play them in the system so that people could use a lot of the footage. We played it on the TV behind us so people couldn't take it and use it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it was a really exciting show. And like I said, we gained subscribers on both our Mass Fade 3 and Resistance Chicks channel from that. That video is at like 15,000 views on one channel. It's at like, I think 4,000 or 5,000 views on the other channel. So I'm really glad that we got the scoop on that.
But you can tell that it got like 11 or 12,000 views in like the first day, and then
they shut us down.
And then the carousel came up.
Yeah.
As soon as Time and New York Times, and what they do,
they got Resistance chicked.
They don't actually make videos of themselves. Videos
they
themselves.
Talk.
No, they don't even talk.
Or they put words on there.
What they do is they put pictures and words, and then they put that video up, and that's what gets put into the top of the carousel.
Right. So what also reminded me, that video is on BitChute as well. BitChute. So you can go there.
Find us on BitChute if we ever get taken off of everything else.
Right, exactly. No, if we ever get taken off of anything else, I will do the website, which will be, it is resistancechicks.com. I own it. I'm working on it, sort of. I know I keep promising that. Update on the piglets. There aren't any yet.
They just keep...
Tracy, Tallulah, the milkman's wife, had messaged me today, and she's like, I'm really anxious. I'm just so concerned. Are the piglets there yet? I keep waiting. I don't want to miss their birth.
So don't worry, we have 4 times to make it happen.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. We have 4 moms. I'm sure we'll catch, you'll be able to catch one of the live births.
All right, so come back on Sunday at 1 o'clock, our UK and Euro news. Last week was Easter, so we hope to come back full on. Tommy Robinson has been kicked off Twitter. There's a new hashtag, I am Tommy Robinson. It's a frustrating debacle of events here. So we hope to cover that. And so
1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Like us on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. Like this video. Comment. We're on Twitter. We love you. God loves you. God bless. We may be coming back again this evening with Nick. We may not. I don't know. I've got to see if I can get a hold of him. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks to our moderators, and especially thanks to our moderators who were here when we had 900 people watching us live. That was a really exciting show. So Kathy Medlock here says, just want to bring up a point on the Cruz shooting. They had the permit for the march a month before the shooting. Just thought you should investigate that. Kathy, I'm not sure if you're the one that had sent that to us on Resistance Chicks on Facebook or not, but somebody had sent that to me, and you are correct.
I haven't found that out. I haven't heard
They
that.
did have the permit a month in advance for the March for Our Lives before the actual shooting.
Well, I'm going to check that out.
For that specific date.
I'm going to check that out.
So yeah, absolutely insane and crazy. So I want to thank you. Are we on Gab too? No, we are not on Gab yet. I tried to do Gab, just didn't quite.
We have a profile there, but I just don't go
It's
there.
very
There's
difficult for us to manage all that we do have,
juggle.
I have to tell you. Leah and I and our mom We put in about 40 or 50 hours a week onto Resistance Chicks. It's like having a full-time job between the three of us. So we can't do everything. But
thanks for asking.
Thank you for asking. All right. We love you. God loves you. God bless.
Remember,
and maybe we'll see you back
not just a conspiracy
a little bit
theory,
later.
if it's the truth.
We shall see. There's a Resistance Chicks on Gab with Leah's name. So that's the fake Leah.
It's there. No, it's
that's
there.
us.
It's us. It's us. I just haven't been back.
We just don't use it. Right. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Good night, guys.
Bye, guys.
I was cold.